This is my competitive analysis on the point and click movement in League of Legends versus Path of Exile. If we take this wooden board and say that it is 1 unit wide, then the player, when in the base stance, has a gap of roughly 1 unit from foot to foot. Within that 1 unit gap between the player's feet, there is a dead zone where the player can click, but the character will not move. The click arrows will still show the player that they have clicked on the ground, but the character will not move because it's in the dead zone. Where the player clicks on the ground is where the player moves, however, the area clicked becomes the center of the dead zone. As you can see here, when the player is clicking right outside the dead zone or on one of the player's feet, the character moves just enough to where the point that they clicked is under the center of the player. This could mean that either the player is just over 1 unit from foot to foot, or the dead zone is just short of 1 unit from foot to foot. Here you can see more clearly that although the player is clicking in the dead zone and the arrows are still showing up, the player is not moving. I did notice when I was messing around with some of the smaller character models that sometimes the arrows didn't even show up. To go along with the point and click movement system that they have implemented into the game, you can also point and click on the ground one time and then hold the mouse button down and move your mouse around and the character will follow where you drag the mouse. Here I will show part of their auto pathing that they have implemented in with their point and click movement system. If you click on the other side of an object, it will auto path the fastest route around the object. The last thing that I'm going to talk about to go with the point and click movement system is also something that they implemented into the minimap. You can click anywhere on the minimap and it will auto path the quickest route to where you clicked on the map, just like this. Now let's talk about Path of Exile and how they decided to implement their point and click movement system. Well, the first thing you should notice is that there's no arrows. It doesn't show the player where they clicked. It's just moving right to where they clicked. Here we can take this chest and say it is 1 unit long, and then we can tell that the player in base stance is a half a unit wide, but an attacking stance is 1 unit wide. Also here you can see that there is also a dead zone in Path of Exile, but in Path of Exile it is actually smaller depending on what stance the player is in. Just like in League, you can click on the ground once, hold the mouse button, and drag the player and it will follow where you go. Something that is different from League is that there's no auto pathing in the game. So if you click an area that is blocked off, it won't try and make its way around the obstacle. Instead, it'll just get as close as it can to it. Here you will see that unlike in League, you cannot click on the minimap and move to that location. Now we will take a look at the combat stance and how it is different. Here you can see that the dead zone gets larger because the stance alone expands and is now 1 unit by 1 unit instead of a half a unit. This is the end of my competitive analysis on the point and click movement of League of Legends and Path of Exile.